All right, we're about to start here shortly. And yeah, we're simulcasting. So whether you're watching this from Aloha Digital or if you're watching this from Pixel Sideload, feel free to say hello. Yeah, it's been an interesting 24 hours. So we're about to start here in about the next 4 minutes. Do me a solid. You guys are coming in, hit the like button. I would truly appreciate that. And if you just subscribe to either one of my channels, I appreciate that too as well. And if you guys like this type of discussion, just straight tech talk and no BS, that's probably the reason why you should subscribe. So go ahead and do that, and then turn on notifications too, so you guys don't miss a video upload, or in fact when I do go live. So yeah, we've had an interesting 24 hours, and yeah, we're gonna talk about it. So, just listening to what the community's been just kind of chattering about, missed opportunities, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So like the community's kind of like split on the Pixel 9a, not 9a, the 10a, and it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, so where do we go from here when it comes to the Pixel 10a? And so I'm just gonna like basically talk about my thoughts. Like, this is like how I'm looking at it, and I don't know, maybe you guys might see it the same way, maybe you guys might have like a different thought. And so if you have a different thought process on all of it, just please do share it in the chat. You're more than welcome to. But yeah, so yesterday we've had various videos drop about the Pixel 10a, and like the funny thing is, when it comes to the just the Pixels in general, just in a way it just seems like that nothing is under wraps with the big G company. Like, I mean, they want to put out a new phone, and we are well aware of the the specs quite ahead, and I know that when the specs are leaked, they're rumors, nothing is set in stone. It's not ironclad. Like, I totally get that. And so yeah, I think that's what the it's like a hit or miss type of thing. It's like, either you believe the rumors, if you believe the leaks, or you don't, right? It's really up to you. It's your prerogative. But nonetheless, a lot of the rumored leaks turned out to be true to some form. Okay, slightly boosted Tensor G4 processor. Yeah, I see a lot of people calling it as in like it's the same Tensor G4 that's in the 9a, and of course technically it is the same processor. It's the same Tensor G4 processor, but they didn't talk about the clock speeds. And I didn't see anything that mentioned, like where was it clocked at? Was it, like clocked higher than what the Pixel 9a's Tensor G4 is and the Pixel 9's Tensor G4? Like, where does it go from here? But then there's a missed opportunity there, and something that has left, notifications. But something that has left people literally questioning like what's going on with Google, to be honest. And that's where it's like, it's like hit or miss, so we're gonna deep dive into that today. Right now I'm just giving time for people to just kind of join in the live stream, to be able to watch and stuff and whatnot. I did get asked if I'm going to get the Pixel 10a. Just to answer everybody, I'm not. I think in a couple of weeks my wife will, and I'm pretty sure she's going for the berry color, and for her to upgrade from the 9a to the 10a. For me, yeah, there's not really a reason for me to upgrade. I have the Pixel 10, and I just don't see a reason for me to spend close to $500 for another phone that is kind of spec'd down from what I'm currently using as my daily driver. It just doesn't make sense. To say that, I have a newer phone is not enough reasoning in today to upgrade. Like, why? What does it really do for me? That's the question. I still got my 9 Pro XL. I'm good for a little while. Yeah. You definitely don't need to upgrade. You definitely don't. There's no reason to. Because it's not really like leaps and bounds, and I think the Pixel 10a emulates that in real world, right? Like, you know, a lot of content creators that kind of like have the same point of view as me will say that, like, you know, if you're on a phone that's like maybe like a year old, 2 years old, you're still good for another couple of years. You know, people will be like, well, you know, what if I need this, or what if I just want the latest features of this? But I mean, look at just what happened recently. Okay, so first off, the 10a doesn't deviate from the 9a specs. Maybe just a few things could be pointed out that's different, but nothing that's like drastically changing or considered to be an upgrade. But then you look at things like quick share, right? The Pixel 10 series and quick share compatible with AirDrop, and now the 9 series is compatible with AirDrop. And so we know that this is going to be something that's rolled out to other Pixels. I don't know how far back, you know, maybe the 8, and that's probably where they're going to stop. Is like the 8 series, maybe all the way to the 6. Who knows? Eventually, this is supposed to be something that goes to other non-Pixel Androids too as well. So, you know, there's a lot going on. Might trade in my 15 Pro Max for the S26 Ultra or Plus. Haven't made up my mind yet. That's a pretty interesting trade-in, and why not? You know, I mean, if the S26 is something you desire, you trade in a 15 Pro Max for it, you get a really good deal out of it, and as long as you're happy, man, then that's a good deal. I just got the 9A. Don't see a big difference between the 9A and 10A. Right, there's not really much. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the confusion that's kind of going on is like there are people who's just like so adamant about upgrading just to say that they have this year's model. And I don't think people realize, like, whether, you know, you're wealthy or you're not wealthy, it's kind of a waste of money. And I made that focus that if you have the 9A, there's really no reason for you to upgrade. Right now, if you go to Google's website, store.google.com, and you look at the Pixel 10a, and you'll see at the top, and it talks about, you know, that I think you can get it for like $215 off. But if you look at the fine print, it tells you that that's based on the trading credit of a Pixel 8a. So even the website itself is targeting those that are on Pixels older than the 9a. And that's who they're kind of generally focused on. You know, yesterday I just had a, you know, small conversation with a friend that was considering trading in a 7 Pro for the 10A. And I was like, yeah, you know, considering what they're offering, I think they were offering like 180. And, you know, that's pretty much like what the 7 Pro and the Pixel 7 go for in the used market. Like, you know, I buy most of my phones on the used market through OfferUp, if you guys didn't know that. Like, if it's an older phone, not something that's like brand new, then I'll just get it on OfferUp. And at least it allows me to test the phone out before I commit to buying it. So that's probably one of the big reasons why. So I get to check like the battery performance and the battery health. I get to check the cameras, the microphone, and make sure that there's no dead spots on the display. Like everywhere that I touch is, you know, it's registering a touch. Like, that's one of the things. But like with an older phone, what up, Anthony? What's going on? You know, I go use through OfferUp, and so Pixel 7s that I see generally are around between 120 to 130 bucks, and 7 Pros are between, you know, like 150 to at max $200, depending on like how good quality, like, you know, if it's like in pristine condition with, you know, max storage capacity and stuff. I've seen it go as high as $200. So 180 in credit from Google Store as trade-in for for the 10A. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I have a Galaxy S22, and I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday's video, but I think I showed it on there at the end of the video. But yeah, I was offered $220 credit for trade-in on the Galaxy S22 256 model for getting the Pixel 10a. So I mean, you think about all these things that were leaked over months about the Pixel 10a, and then now that it's here, and we look at it, and it's like, okay, just about everything that was talked about came to be. I mean, I know a little bit close to the launch times when people started talking about it using Gorilla Glass 7i instead of Gorilla Glass 3, and that's pretty good. The fact is that it's supposed to have 3000 nits true peak brightness. I mean, we'll have to see with tests, but the dimensions, the size, the weight, I mean, those things weren't really heavily pushed when it comes to the leaks, but, battery is. And yeah, we got a 5100 milliamp hour battery again. And I don't know what it is, but I see a lot of content creators saying 30 watt. And to my fellow creators out there, it's a 45 watt wired charging, not 30. Okay, now it doesn't talk about the wireless charging here. I thought it didn't, but apparently it's supposed to be 10 watt wireless charging versus the usual 7.5 watts. But the wired charging's been bumped up to 45 watts, so a little bit faster, charging on the battery. But that's totally okay. And then you have 8 gigs of RAM, starting at 128 gigs. So I know that's probably going to be a bummer for a lot of people that's even considering this phone. Much less, that's probably going to be the thing that they nitpick about. And I know for a fact they're going to bring up Apple. And I'm pretty sure once the iPhone 17e comes out, and if that thing starts out at 256 base storage, that's going to be the thing that people are just going to go and just nitpick about. It's like, oh, Apple did it to the 17e. Why couldn't Google do it to the 10a? Like, I have already forecasted a lot of the stuff that's going to come through, just so I can shift through a lot of that jargon that doesn't really matter versus stuff that really does matter. And yeah, we do need to start moving towards higher storage capacity on these phones, especially with 7 years of software support. And you do want to make sure you have ample storage in order to withstand that. But while the company offers 7 years of software support, there is a decent sized market out there that maybe upgrades every 3 to 4 years. Maybe, roughly about. The average person tends to upgrade a smartphone willingly or as a gift, average like every 2 years. So is anyone really taking a Pixel and using it for the full 7 years it's supported? No one's reached that level yet, because the very first phones that offered it didn't even pass 7 years yet. But the ones that I've seen on social media that did get it, which if you guys didn't know, that was the Pixel 8. There are a lot of people that got the Pixel 8 and were surprised and shocked at the 7 years of software support. And then currently right now are on Pixel 10s. They're not even on the 8. Some of them had traded in their 8. I remember Steel Trap. I remember things that people say on social media and stuff like that. So yeah, there's not really anyone that's got the Pixel 8 and is maintaining it all the way through the full 7 years. There's some who are I'm not saying that there's no one out there that got the Pixel 8 on month of release and then has upgraded. There's still people that still use the 8. If you want to know who they are, just go to a couple of the other fellow creators here on the platform, like C. Scott Brown. Go to his video where he talks about that, the Pixel 8 or 8 Pro is still worth getting in 2026. And you're going to see a lot of comments on there about people saying, I'm watching this on my Pixel 8 or my Pixel 8 Pro, or yeah, I still using my Pixel 8 Pro. Like, they're still using it. And so, yeah, they got, I think like 4 more years to go before they touch 7 years. So, good on them. But the thing is, I feel like that the reason that this works out is because they're trying to have an open board for any type of user. The annual upgrader, the biannual upgrader, not biannual, but the every 2 year upgrader, the person that upgrades every 3 to 4 years, the ones that use the phone until the wheels falls off, and the person that has stuck with the same phone for nearly a decade. So like they have all that on the board covered. They also have it like maybe you don't want to trade in your phone because maybe you feel like the value and credit that they're offering isn't worth the value of the phone in itself. So some people will go and take to the used marketplace like OfferUp, SwapUp, Back Market Alpha, Back Market, and you have Facebook Marketplace, Mercari. You have a lot of different places, eBay, and so you'll sell it. Well, if you sell it and somebody was always interested in that phone and decides they want to buy it, you know, they're good to go, because if you've had it for 2 years since day of launch, that means that it's got 5 years of software support left on it for the second owner to be able to use the phone and be able to stay up to date on software. So there's like a lot of things around it. It's not all about using it from day of launch all the way until the very last day end of life. I mean, that's what makes these phones resellable. If you haven't noticed it, on the market today, when it comes to Pixels, they used to be far cheaper. The value used to drop pretty quickly. A lot of people were just like, hey, you know, iPhone's got a better resale value. Now Pixels are starting to get a better resale value only because of the longevity of software support. A lot of people that have learned about what a Google Pixel is also knows that it's got at least 7 years of software support. Hey, Nia and Dang, what's up, man? Welcome back, man. Haven't seen you in a while, but glad to have you here. So, you know, that's the reality of the 7-year software support. So, anyways, but yeah, you know, here's the thing, right? You got one of the things that has people divided. And this is one of the things that I also kind of want to like put focus on. I don't understand this move either. So like midway, right? So we had the Pixel 3a that was the start of the A series, the budget Pixel lineup. I'll be a little bit specific here. If I call it a budget phone, there'll be people that's like, that's not a budget phone. Budget phones between like, you know, $100 to $300. So I'll just be very clear. Budget Pixel phone. You know, it is a mid-ranger, or like a high mid-ranger. Anyways, the 3A and the 4A were basically, you know, budget Pixels. The 3A based off the Pixel 3 and it having I think it's a 600 series Qualcomm chip. But you know what, for the most part, the experience software-wise, the user interface and everything was pretty much very similar, well optimized, so close to the Pixel 3. And the crazy thing was the Pixel 3 had better battery than the Pixel 3. But anyone that got the 3A wouldn't really have to second guess if they were getting the same experience as a Pixel 3 owner. The only difference was that the Pixel 3 was a glass body built phone and the 3A was plastic. The 4A emulated that same thing, except it cut down on the price, right? $399 for the 3A and $349 for the 4A. So we saw an insanely cheaper price and a very well built, even though it was polycarbonate plastic, but a very well built smartphone with all the amenities of and a very cheap price, right? Then you move on to the 4A 5G, which was just like the larger. It served the purpose in two ways. You know, it was the XL model for the Pixel 5, and it was an XL model for the Pixel 4A. So it's like kind of in between. And then we got the Pixel 5A, and that changed from plastic built to a metal built A series device. And that was the very first wave. But a lot of those were just like, budget to mid-range processor chips by Qualcomm. And you got the 6A, which was the very first of the A series on chapter Tensor with Pixel. And I think one of the things that a lot of people were just really boasting about with the 6A was the fact that, it had the Tensor G1. Like, there were people who speculated that, okay, the A series were going to stick with Qualcomm, probably a 700 series chip, and the flagships were going to get the Tensor, and that was furthest from the case. We got the Tensor G1 in the 6A, which was the same in the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. And that continued on. The 7 with the G2, the 7A has the G2, the 8 has the G3, the 8A has the G3, the 9 has the G4, the 9A has the G4. And then, that kind of changed, because then we got the 10 with the G5 and the 10A with the G4. That was one of the things that, A series supporters, and I'm one of them. I have just about almost every A series device except for the 4A 5G. And I've been a big fan of the A series. And even I'm left puzzled, questioning this move, like to keep the Tensor G4, like why? Would it have raised the price of the 10A if they put the G5 in it? Because then that still wouldn't make sense to a lot of us, because the Pixel 10 got an additional camera sensor, a telephoto camera sensor, and glass built, and like all the little treatments of a base flagship device. And that's still, along with the Tensor G5, that still remained to be $799 for it. So if the price didn't change on the 10 versus the 9 and what was the offering, then why would it change for the 10A? See, there's things that just don't make sense to me. Then I know people can plug into comments speculations, like maybe chip shortages, because like right now we're having problems, with chip shortages and, RAM costing a lot more. And so, we're like kind of like in the middle of a crisis when it comes to, pocket computers and home PCs and, laptops, etc. So, it's just, I don't know. Why didn't it put the Tensor G5 in it? I mean, I could understand the price going up if the 10A moved away from the 8 gigs of RAM and say they gave us 12 gigs of RAM. I can kind of see it maybe going up by like $50 or something like that. But I don't see it going up if they put the G5 in it. I just don't. I don't understand why they didn't do it. And it was like a lot of the talk of the town was a boosted Tensor G4 processor. Okay, a boosted Tensor, like how much boosted? Because here they don't even try to at least give some people like, okay, you know what, you're getting the same processor chip as last year's model, but we've overclocked it because after rigorous testing, we know that the Tensor G4 can be clocked at this and be able to yield these types of performances. Like there's nothing, not even on the site does it even say, just throwing the word boosted there. So at least people feel like they're getting something a little bit different, but just Tensor G4, it's just like, okay, well, I can just get last year's model. Because some people base things on the processor's performance right away. And if they're looking at this and they're like, okay, Tensor G4, 9A, Tensor G4, 9A cheaper, let me get the 9A. So they'll do that. So it's kind of like cannibalizing your own sales for the 10A. I mean, it's already hard enough as is to just say that this is a worthy upgrade from the Pixel 9A. Not even I can really recommend that to anybody out there. And I'm a Pixel fan. And I just don't see a reason in it. And that's just my thing. If I won't upgrade to it, then I won't pitch that people should give it a shot or at least consider it. And I can't ask people to consider it because it's very much the same thing as the 9A. There are very small things and missed opportunities about the 10A. And I've been talking about this for the last 24 hours on social media. And I'm just going to outright say it. So, you can quote this if you want. But the 10A is a 9A plus, in my opinion. And I'm not throwing shade at the 10A. I'm not saying it's a bad phone, don't buy it, or any of that type of stuff. Like, no. But, I mean, if you're a 9A user, I wouldn't advise it. Save your money. Because you're not going to be missing anything. Like, the moment you unbox the phone, that's probably the only true, joyful excitement you're going to have. Using it for 48 hours and beyond that, and you're just going to be like, well, this is very similar to the 9A. Why did I upgrade? Why did I spend all this money on the phone? And like, that's what I'm trying to prevent here, is anyone feeling like they wasted their money. It's a nice phone. If you have the 8A, this will probably be a great upgrade from the 8A. If you have the 7A, definitely an upgrade. 6A, what are you waiting for? If you're trying to hold on to the 6A, for longevity wise, stick with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stick with it. If it's working just fine with you, stick with it. If your battery isn't swollen, just stick with it. But if you're like, I want an upgrade, is a 10A an upgrade from my 6A? Yes, it is, hands down. So yeah, I don't understand why they didn't put the Tensor G5 in there. And then of course, another missed opportunity that people are talking about, and yes, it is a missed opportunity: no pixel snap support. Now, I don't know if this is based on the fact that, you know, that they didn't want to use magnets inside, because that's the one thing that I do miss. You know, because my Pixel 10 here, great phone, but any earbuds that I have, like my Tozo T6s, or, you know, some Skull Candy earbuds that I have, if they're running low on juice, I can't turn on, you know, reverse wireless charging, because the 10 does not support that. And apparently it has to do with the fact that it has magnets and the G2 wireless charging. So because it has technically pixel snap, I can't reverse wireless charge any device that I have, which, you know, I could do on my other Pixels, right? Just lay it, you know, have it turned on and lay the, you know, the earbuds case on top on the back of the phone, and it would just charge up. If my friends needed to get topped up because, you know, they had like 15% battery, then they can just lay it on my phone and my phone would charge their phone for them. You know, so I mean, it's those things, and it's like, you know, we don't have that on the 10, and so I don't know. It doesn't say anything about reverse wireless charging when it comes to the battery and charging, so I don't know if this has reverse wireless charging. But it's got faster charging, you know, up to 50% in 30 minutes, so that's pretty nice, you know. And says it has like over 30 hours of battery life, so I mean, that's just average case usage. I'm sure there's someone out there that can kill the battery in like 14 hours. So yeah, everyone's use case, your usage is different. It's very different. But yeah, so, you know, no pixel snap. And even if they weren't going to put pixel snap within the phone in itself, the official Google cases don't have the magnets in them. So that was one of the things that was mentioned by several other creators, and I stand behind them on that. That is, if you wanted a case that has magnets to support Snap products, you're not going to find it in a Google case. So I don't see sales really popping for the Google cases, other than to say that you have a Google case. And yes, there really is people who are like that. They're like, I got a Pixel 10, so I'm going to buy me the official Google case for the Pixel 10, so it has the case with the G logo on it, and I can say, yeah, this case came from Google. But there's a lot of good cases like Tudia that I like, that you know, are good for Pixel phones too, and offer a very good amount of protection compared to the official Google cases, and that's just the reality of it. So no magnets, you know, in their official case means that, you know, any you know, Pixel Snap, or what's the other thing? See, I'm so used to calling it Pixel Snap now, I forgot what Apple calls it. If anyone wants to plug in the chat, what does Apple call it again? MagSafe. There we go. Any MagSafe product or Pixel Snap supported product, you know, can't use it on the 10A unless you buy a third-party case that has the magnet. Now, if you are a DIY type person, I'm sure you could probably find a way to take the magnets off a third-party case and find a way to put it on the official Google case, so that way it does support the magnets. But then again, I mean, that's going through a lot. That's going through a lot, right? That's like trying to take shit and polish it. It's still gonna be shit. But I digress from that. Okay. So yeah, when you look at the cameras, I mean, the cameras are pretty much spec the same, just about. 48 megapixel. You know, it doesn't go too deep into it. Well, it does right here. I mean, you got, you know, the f1.7 aperture and 82 degree field of view and all that. You know, the image sensor size. So you, I mean, you know, you guys can look at the specs closely yourself. But just basically, the cameras are literally the same. You know, and then of course, because it's got 8 gigs of RAM, there are certain AI features that it's going to focus. You know, like not focus, but like I read that word and I said it out loud. That, you know, it's going to be able to utilize, and then there's going to be other AI features that's not going to be able to utilize, because 8 gigs of RAM is not enough to run that specific feature within Gemini. And so there you guys are back at, square one. And I know that the A series is meant to bring you a near close to base model flagship experience that the 10s have. AI is like their main focal point now. And so why not even have, their budget option be able to at least support 90% of the Gemini features that the base flagship and the Pro models are able to have. Like there's some features the Pro models have that the base model doesn't. And so I get why that the A series will have some things that the base model has. The budget option won't get it. I get that. I don't know. I'm just thinking this, like, all of them should have nearly the same. Like, there should only be like a 1% gap in between them, in my opinion. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe you guys think I'm dumb for saying that, but at the end of the day, most people are just focused on, majority of the stuff is hardware. What type of camera sensor does it have? There's a lot of people that's pissed off, like, it doesn't matter like how much you try to explain things, right? They don't care. They just want it their way. Like, when it comes to smartphones and mobile technology, the everyday person who's interested in upgrading every year and stuff like that, they have Burger King. They have Burger King, not the food, but the moniker. Have it your way, right? That's the way that they feel like they should be. So they feel like if they think that the Pixel 10 should have, each sensor should be a 100 megapixel sensor, then that's the way that they see it. You can't tell them otherwise. Like, I've tried this experiment. I've said it. I've seen people's responses to what I've said when it comes to the Pixel 10. Everyone was mad. Oh my God, 48 megapixel. They downgraded it from the Pixel 9. Yes, they did. Why? Because there would be no sense to have the Pixel 10 with a 50 megapixel main shooter, 48 megapixel ultra wide, 48 megapixel telephoto, and then have the Pro model with the same camera sensor. It would just make no sense to have, because then what's the point? It just be the 10 and then call the 10 Pro XL, the 10 Pro. You want the Pro model, you're getting a larger display and all sorts of stuff, right? Like, the reason that the 10 Pro exists is because there's some people who just don't want a large Pro model phone. They want a Pro model phone, but they don't want it large. And so now you have, the 10 Pro, just like you have the 9 Pro. And that's it. They're catering to a demographic, to a market. It says, yeah, I would buy your phone if your Pro model phone wasn't, super tall or super big. I got small hands, type of thing. And that's just like, that's what they did. So why have the 10 have the same sensors as the 10 Pro? Because then all that's going to do is just cannibalize the existence of the 10 Pro, and then everyone's just going to go for the 10. So there has to be marginal differences, and if it means downgrading the base model to these sensors, and that's what they're going to do for it to make sense. And I know everything that Google does not always make sense. Like this, for example, it does not make sense. It's a good phone. It's a nice phone. I mean, when you look at everything that it's able to do, if I tell you guys that the Pixel 9a is a solid phone, then I would be an idiot to come and say that the Pixel 10a is just terrible. Because it's the same phone, literally. That's why people are calling the 10a the 9a Plus. Now it comes down to it, it's just like, is it okay to do this because you agree with if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing? Because that's where the other divide is happening right now in the tech space. While this phone is, center stage with the spotlight on it. There are people that's like, it would have been okay this year for Google to not release an A series if it was going to be specs so close to the 9A, then just don't do it, But I mean, there are small differences. One of the things that, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I've never been a supporter of this. Like, bezels have never bothered me. It has not, because when you're looking at your screen, they don't even appear when you're staring at your screen. You don't really see it when you're primarily focused. If you're looking for it, if you're looking at your display and you're reading something on social media, but you're like, God, these bezels are ugly. I bet I can see them if I'm looking at this website. of course you're gonna see it because you're actively looking for it. But if you're just like, oh my god, an article about this, and you open it and you're reading the article and you're immersed in reading that article, you're not gonna see the bezels. But that's one thing that's shrunk on the 10A. They made the bezel slimmer. To me, it doesn't look any slimmer, but that's just me. But there are people who care for that type of stuff. They care for it. They're like, oh yeah, smaller bezels. That's the reason that they're going to upgrade, is because they want smaller bezels. Like, whatever the case point may be. But there are those people that are divided that say that today, that this year would have been an okay year to not have an A series if they weren't going to do anything leaps and bounds. But then if they did that, then there wouldn't be a 10A. And if they try to come with the 11A, the 11A would be the 10A. Because this year we're getting the Pixel 11. So then when the 10A comes out, then the 12 is coming out. And it's like, it would just throw a whole wrench in the gears and the sprockets, and it will just cause the whole machine to just kind of start stuttering and come to a halt. Of course, there's the fact that people are just like, hey, the 9A should have been the last A series device, and to commemorate it, they could have just shut down the A series. The base models could have been the budget options, and then you had the Pro and the Pro XL and the Pro Fold, and maybe come out with a Pro Flip or a Pro Twist or whatever the case may be, Pro Spin. I don't know. Whatever the hell mobile technology is going through today to try to separate themselves and make them stand above the rest. Like, do they spin, they flip, whatever the case may be. And I mean, I would have been okay with that too. I would have missed the A series. I would have given it a proper send-off. But, I would have missed the A series for sure. Getting to a comment here, because I see this pretty lengthy comment. Would have been cool if they at least had some different colors. I mean, they have technically different colors, but they're so similar to the last. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And the colors used to matter, right? The colors used to matter. Right now, it doesn't even seem like it matters. It just seems like that they're like, oh, okay, we'll bring in these shades of color that's very similar to the Google logo. So, lavender is supposed to look kind of like pull towards the blue of it. Berry is supposed to pull towards the red of it. Fog is supposed to pull towards the green of it. Obsidian is just like the neutral color. But maybe they should have like 5 colorways. Like, where's yellow? Where's the yellow? I mean, that would have been so cool, right? Just have like 5 different colors. Or a nice bright red or something. Well, see, here's the thing. The berry looks red to me. Like, I've seen photos where it looks red, and I've seen photos where it looks pink, and I don't know. I would need someone to show me an actual Pixel 10A and its red color, and take a picture of it with a camera that can do some justice as far as like real color tone matching. Because the ones that are like looking a little pinkish, it's really hard to tell, especially from the angle that they shot the photo. Because what I'm looking for to determine if it's just a Pixel 9A that's peony, or if it's actually the berry, is I'm looking at the camera, the camera module area, to see if it has that small little bump lip that the 9A has, or if it's like completely flush to the body, the way that it is on the 10A. Because the 10A has no camera lip around the camera module that houses the 2 sensors. It is completely flushed into the body now. And it's like, okay, that's cool, and everything. But that's the only way you would tell the difference, just on site. That, and honestly, like the pill cutout for the camera sensors, it's narrow from top to bottom on the 9A, and it's much more wider on the 10A. So the 10A is more of an oval than a pill shape. That would be the only other way to determine the difference between the two. If you were just to look at it and like have to identify it in 5 seconds or less. Those are the 2 things that I would look for in order to determine the difference between a 9A and a 10A. And that's the other thing too. It's just like, I agree with you. They should have had different types of colors, or like a different way. Like, instead of going with the matte color, maybe go back to glossy, right? Because that's a way to distinctly tell the difference between. Because one thing I know here, living in Phoenix, a large city, lots of people that's going to be posting online, like, they got their hands on a couple of Pixel 10As and they're selling it, and there's gonna be people who's gonna fall for it when they present them a 9A, and the person doesn't check. All they do is they check that it turns on, they check that they can touch the screen, and then they open the camera to make sure it can take pictures and record video, and then they just pay the cash and walk away. They don't even know. And then until later on when they're like, they're setting up everything, and then say, they want to register the device with the Find Hub, right? The Google Find Hub, which is like, find my iPhone. It's the Pixel version of it. And so they register their phone, and then they see on the screen that your 9A is registered, and then they're like, 9A, and they get confused, and they don't know, right? There's people out there who still don't follow mobile tech like us nerds do, and so the only time they absolutely give a shit is when they're in the shit, when it comes to it, and then that's when it matters. But at the end of the day, they don't give a dang if it's a 10A or a 9A or whatever the case point may be. So there's going to be people that's going to be took because you can get a 9A for a relatively cheap price. I've seen them here on the used market in my city. I've seen them for $200 now. They've gone down that low. So a person that sells the 9A, masking it as a 10A, and sells it for $399, $400. It goes for $500, but I didn't like it. I'm selling it. I'm going back to iPhone. I'm just selling it $100 cheaper than brand new. Buy mine, and then someone buys it and actually spent $200 more on a Pixel 9A, thinking that it was a 10A. Like, that would be like the only other problem. So I think different colorways, yes. I also think different, back plastic design, like alternate each year, right? Glossy one year, matte the next year. If they're gonna keep this same style. Okay, because like with the older A series, like the 6A, the 7A, the 8A, you definitely can see a difference between all three. And it just goes down to this. 6A is gonna have a multicolor back, right? Whether it's it's within the same realm of color, the shade's gonna be different, right? So you had, their black or charcoal, which is supposed to be based off obsidian. You got a lighter gray bottom half, and then above the camera bar, it's a darker gray color. That's that. You go with the 7A, which the coral color, right? But you can tell because it's all one solid color except for the camera bar, which the camera bar is a certain way. So what up, Coffee? What's going on? So you have you could distinctly tell the 7A from the 6A. The 8A had rounder corners, so you definitely could tell the difference on that. But with the 9A and the 10A, they're so close in design, it's going to be hard to tell. So that's my only other concern. So I would tell people who may find a Pixel 10A on the used market for sale, somebody who claims in their little description of the phone, like, I wanted to try out Pixel, I bought a 10A, I don't like it, I'm going back to iPhone, so I'm selling it for like $300 or $400. When you go to buy the phone, if they tell you it's sealed, don't buy it. Unless they're willing to open it and let you test it. And when you are testing it, go to settings, go to about, and then look for the model name. It says 9A, they're lying to you. It's not a 10A. Look for those things. Besides testing the camera, recording a video to check microphone and audio that's working, and touching the display, making sure that there's no dead spots on the display. Go to settings and about phone and make sure that it is a true 10A, that it's not a 9A. I see that being as a problem. Not like everybody that goes on the used marketplace is going to get hit with this scam, but I can see this being something that, because like here in my city, we have, and thank God it's not Pixels, but this is something that's going on everywhere else. But we have a lot of scams running on Galaxies and iPhone. Right? There are people that are walking around with, iPhone, 17 Pro Max, and you really have to go as far, like it's sealed in a box. And so you have to know your Apple products. Like, you have to know what type of font they use on the back of the box and how big the font lettering is going to be. Like, you need to know those things, because they will tell you, like, it's a sealed iPhone 17 Pro Max. And like one guy, posted this whole rant, and you could already tell that it wasn't even a real Apple device, but he goes that he had won a 17 Pro Max at work, and he already has one, so he's selling this one for super cheap. Usually goes for $1,000. He'll take $850 for it. And there's people that, obviously, you can see people's comments and stuff like that and interest in it. And you look at the box and you can tell it's not a real Apple device. And these guys will tell you when you try to buy the phone and you're like, hey, Leah, can you open it? Can I see it? And they're like, if I open it, you have to buy it because it's sealed in the box and it's brand new. I'm like, who cares? It's sealed in the box, brand new. If the person says, I don't want to buy it, you're still selling it for $850. So, you can say that, open it to show a customer who didn't buy it. So $850 for it. Would you recommend getting the 9A or just wait on the 10A? What are you coming from? Like, to be clear, if you don't have a 9A, then get the 10A. It's as simple as that. And my only recommendations are to 9A users, 9A owners. There's no reason to rush out and upgrade unless your only reasoning is that you have to have this year's model phone. If that is like your biggest reasonings why you upgrade, then by all means go from a 9A to the 10A. But if you have the 9A and you just want a phone that works and is good, there's no reason to go from the 9A to this. They're pretty much nearly the same. Now, if you don't have the 9A, then yeah, just go 10A. Why go for last year's model when you can go with this year's model and have that additional year of support compared to last year's model, right? That's how I say it. Or, in like layman's terms for other people to understand. If you have let's see, best way to put it. Good analogy I can use. If you have a 2025 Nissan Sentra, there's no reason to go out and trade in and buy the 2026 Nissan Sentra. If you have, let's say, a Chevy Cobalt and you want to get the 2026 Nissan Sentra, that's worth, right? You're jumping from a major brand over. Even if you have like a Nissan, but you have like a 19, that's going way too back. Let's say like, a 2020 Nissan Sentra, then the 2026 would be a worthy upgrade to trade in your 2020 Nissan Sentra for the 2026 one, right? So all I'm just saying is if you're a 9A user and you like the phone and you don't have to have the latest phone every year, then if you're thinking about upgrading to the 10A, it's not worth it. It's pretty much the same. Just, I hope I put that in good, clear understandings. I want people to understand that because I swear I'm getting a lot of questions outside of YouTube on social media from friends and stuff. It's like, they're like, dude, are you saying that it's not worth getting at all? Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you have the 9A and you like the 9A and you're not all about standing on the latest year's smartphone model, then there's no reason to go to the 10A. You have an 8A, a 7A, a 6A, a 5A, a 4A, or a 3A. Yeah, going to the 10A is not bad. Especially the older your device is, yeah. Anyways. Yeah, so I got like about 10 minutes left to podcast before I got to get going throughout the rest of my day of my other tasks and stuff like that. Anyways, questions regarding, the 10A and all the stuff that's surrounding it, like questions you guys may have about it, things that you guys may want to know, or just things that you want to say about it. Like, how many of you guys are upset at the fact that it doesn't have a Tensor G5? Like, it's okay to be upset about those things. I'm not gonna like pick on anybody for it. People feel certain ways. Like, smartphones have become such a part of us. They're like the extension of the human body. I mean, sometimes I look at the world in the way it is today, and I feel like we're like living in the movie WALL-E. We're becoming so dependent on AI, so dependent on GPS navigations. Like, I think back to like, when I first started driving, in my early adulthood, and I drove from Oklahoma City to Longview, Texas, without a smartphone, using interstate signs to tell me what direction I'm going. And then nowadays I look, and then there's always a phone stand. There's always Google Maps or Apple Maps or Waze or something open, and people are like looking at it. Someone stops inside a truck stop, brings in their phone, and they have maps open, and they're like, I'm going to this city, and I just want to know if I'm on the right. And they show their map to the clerk attendant in the truck stop, and you're just looking at them like, if it says, to head east on I-40, keep heading east. Maps will tell you when there's a junction you need to take, an exit you need to take, or a different interstate you need to merge on. I mean, yeah, so. Well, yeah. As for me, like I said, I am not getting the Pixel 10a. My wife is. So when she gets her Pixel 10a, and it's not going to be anytime soon, but when she does, she's going to let me unbox it, and, she's going to give me her feedback on the phone, and I get to relay that feedback to all of you, whether here on the main channel or, on the Pixel Sideload channel, which, shout out. We're like at 109 subscribers on the Pixel Sideload channel, and I'm simulcasting to both channels, right? So if you are subscribed to the Sideload and you see on your time feed later on, there's a live stream that happened on that channel, it's this one. I got it set up on OBS where I can stream to multiple, especially when it's Pixel news coverage. I don't want to pick and choose which channel it goes to. So when it comes to that type of stuff that I want to talk about, then I'm live streaming, I can simulcast. But yeah, I'm not going for the Pixel 10a myself. Maybe I'll grab one later on at the end of this year, beginning of next year, just to have my own in the collection. Because I know, like, right now, places that have, like, pretty good deals. Google Fi has a pretty good deal. If you get a new line of service with Google Fi and you opt in for their premium plan, the $65 plan, you can get the Pixel 10a on them. So you would just have to pay the taxes for the phone, and then they would bill you the monthly amount for financing it, but then you'll be credited the monthly amount for financing it, making it free. And then you also get a $10 discount on your $65 plan, making it $55 a month for 2 years. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. You can get it directly from the Google Store, trade in a device. I mean, when you go to the store, to Google Store's website, and you look at the specs for the Pixel 10a, at the top it says from $284, and it has a $499 scratch. That's if you trade in a really good condition Pixel 8a, you can get it for $284. So whatever your trade-in value is gonna knock it off, and it's an instant credit rebate for the trade-in. So when you send in your trade-in device, if you try to cheat them, you're like, yeah, I got an iPhone 15, I'm gonna trade for it, and like they give you like $300 for it, and so you only paid $199. I'm just guesstimating here. I'm not saying that's what the cost is for trading in an iPhone 15. I'm sure it's more, because you can get the phone as low as $50, depending on what your trade-in model is. But whatever phone you're trading in, make sure that if you say it's in great condition, that it is in great condition, because once they get that phone, if you try to cheat them and you send a broken phone, cracked display, cracked back, camera sensor not working, right? They're gonna run a test on it. If they find a flaw, they're gonna charge you the difference. So if let's say like if my Galaxy S22 was gonna get $220, and then they said like the charge port doesn't work on it, so it dropped the price. Instead of $220, they're only gonna give me $180 for it. Then whatever credit was applied at purchase of the 10a, they're gonna charge my payment method for that little bit back. So yeah, don't try to cheat them. Also, track your trade-ins to make sure that they arrive where they need to go. And it's very hard because you have to gather up so much proof, because if they try to hit you with like, hey, we never received your trade-in, we've given you enough time to send it in, so we're going to charge your payment method, the difference in that we credited you, to fight that, you're going to need all that evidence, the tracking. I would record video of showing you dropping it off. So like if I was going to bring my trade, say if I'm going to trade in, my wife will come with me inside the store, like the UPS store. I think UPS or FedEx, whoever they use. And the reason why is because I would want her on her phone recording video. I'm going to show the box. I'm going to have the box open to show that the trade-in phone is in there. Walk up to the guy, tell him, like where it's going. Of course, have them tape it up. And there'll be just one continuous videos, no cutting, to prove that I put it in the box and that UPS or FedEx took control of the box. And therefore, if it's missing, it ain't on my end. It ain't that I cheated them. It was sent. Track it every day. Take screenshots, take screen recordings showing its progress from you shipping it to Google. Show any screenshots of notifications telling you that it had arrived at Google's processing center for, trade-in devices. And that way it's on them. And they have to honor because you sent the trade-in device in. If they lost it, if it arrived at their facility and they lost it, then that would be on them, right? So that's what I would advise people to do, honestly. I would advise people to do that to protect themselves and such. At least the Pixel cases are backwards compatible, I assume. Actually, no. Because it is slightly thicker than the Pixel 9a. So the Pixel 9a official Google cases don't technically fit properly on it. You could probably jam it in there, but you're not going to have that little bit of tiny lip protection on the display. The display is actually be slightly higher, but not by much, right? Like I think it's like 0.1 or 0.01. So yeah. But lately I've just been getting back into custom ROMs and stuff like that. Like I showed a video of my Nothing Phone 1, and it's on Evolution X 11.4.2, so it's running Android 16 and not a version of Nothing OS, like a Pixel experience. It's so cool. And yes, the Spider-Man logo down there, that's the fingerprint sensor. Like, I know one person was asking me about that, but yeah. That's the fingerprint sensor. I really like this ROM. This ROM is super cool. And shout out to my younger sister. Today's her birthday. That's like funny. Like my younger brother's birthday was the day before Valentine's, and today on the 19th is my younger sister's birthday. So they were both February babies. But yeah, today's her birthday, so big shout out to her. But yeah, I've been running the custom ROM on the Nothing Phone 1. And battery has actually got so much better on this thing. It's super cool. I'm actually gonna do a deep dive video later on this week about it, or maybe next week. But I just like using this phone. So this phone and of course, my Pixel 10 are my daily driver devices currently at this time right now. Love this thing. Love the experience. Yeah, it's so cool. Of course, yeah, there's things that I do lose, right? Like RCS. The play integrity is not 100%. And no, I don't have the Nothing Phone 1 rooted. I could root it if I wanted to, and then use any of the modules to try and hide the play integrity, but I choose not to. I just like using it just for the hell of it. But yeah, there's some other custom ROMs too. I'm still waiting on OnePlus to give me the damn token bin to unlock the bootloader on my OnePlus 9, because I really want to put Evolution X on the OnePlus 9 and see how well it runs on there. That'd be super cool to bring it up to Android 16 also. But yeah, that's what I'm more interested in right now, is running custom ROMs on the different devices I have, including the Pixels. The Pixels are the easiest to flash. But yeah, so that's what I'm more into. So rather than getting a Pixel 10a for me, I'll just stick with my Nothing Phone 1, and I'm probably trying to find a Nothing Phone 2a. I know there's a guy that has a Nothing Phone 3a for sale for $120, so I want to go check it out, because if it's worth it, I'll get it. But of course, that one I don't really have to worry too much about, because it still has software support. But yeah, I do want to get some other CMF and Nothing devices and flash custom ROMs on there. I see there's a nice little community of developers for Nothing Tech and CMF. Yeah, so definitely want to try out their stuff. But anyways, that's what I'm more into right now. And then of course, flashing custom ROMs on Google Pixels, like the Pixel 5a. This one's running Lineage OS 23, so it's running Android 16 and then like a stock version of it. Something's going on outside. I can hear people talking. Anyways, yeah, so it's running stock version and whatnot. Let me put this on mute. And let's see, Android 16. Let's do the system update. There it is. There's actually another update. Oh no, wait, that's the same one. I don't know why they do this, but yeah, Lineage OS 23.2. So I have that on the Pixel 5a. Yeah, it's great kind of taking some of these older phones and putting like the latest version of Android on them and then seeing them revived. And yeah, so anyways, yeah, we'll pretty much chalk it up to that. when I get a new phone, I'm gonna put the Graphene on it. Yeah, Graphene OS is actually pretty good. Just, understand certain apps might not work with it, especially when you install an app on Graphene OS through the Play Store. Make sure that it's sandboxed correctly, so then that way the level of security is there depending on the apps that you're sandboxing, but also make sure you do it correctly, and in that way it passes play integrity. So if it checks for that type of stuff and it disables the app from being used because the play integrity is not found or whatever. Yeah. If you want some articles to read on Graphene OS and how to make the apps work correctly, without problems, I can send you a link on Google Chat of like some literature to read and stuff like that. Graphene OS is pretty good. I hear good things about it, but I'm more of a customizable type of guy, so Evolution X is kind of more my cup of tea. But yeah, anyways, I'll leave it at that. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. The weekend is almost upon us, so happy Friday Junior today. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow in a video. And yeah, just enjoy the rest of your week. Cool, everybody. Aloha, take care. Love you guys very much. You guys be safe out there.